One of the things that the Bulls have clearly been focused on is stacking up their cap space, which adds to flexibility and clearing the books. They're clearly positioning themselves for free agency. And the big question is that what are the free agents that are worth the gamble in free agency, especially restricted free agency? We're talking a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to dive into the mailbag, all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes. But more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Chicago Bulls have been clearing cap space. They've been setting up for the free agency, for the offseason, I should say, of 2026 for a while. And they've added future cap flexibility. They have draft picks. They could have 2 draft picks in the first round of this draft, which we talked a lot about. But cap flexibility is one thing, right? How you use it is something that it's going to how valuable it actually is, right? And so with the Chicago Bulls today, we're going to talk about that flexibility and what they have. So yeah, you can use cap space in a few different ways. The most traditional way, and the way that people think of cap space, is signing free agents. And we'll talk a little bit about that. It can be used in other creative ways, like you can absorb contracts of a player that asks out or wants out. You can absorb that and then only have to send either draft picks, or if you have a trade exception, which the Bulls do have, you can absorb that player outright. You can use it also to absorb contracts, but the focus isn't necessarily the player. You can take on bad contracts, stack draft picks, which is something that we've seen a lot of teams deploy, but more so when they're prepared to stay bad and develop for a while. I personally have my doubts on how bad the Chicago Bulls plan on staying for a little bit, but we'll see what happens in the offseason. But with the Bulls and needing the best talent, right? Like need top end talent, and they haven't done the best job at developing. One thing that AK has definitely talked about and he has focused on with his actions here over the last few years is acquiring young players that have experience. Josh Giddey was one of those players that he acquired with experience, right? You look at Jalen Smith, another young player that he signed with experience. Same thing for Trey Jones, a young player that we traded for and acquired with experience, right? These guys have added to this team and played key roles when healthy for this team. Then you flip it and look at it, the draft picks. Miles Buzelis, Noah Essegay, the 2 most recent draft picks by the Chicago Bulls. Miles has been a starter since about 2/3 of the way through his rookie year. Started for the entirety of this year. Noah Essegay went down. He was hurt, so you don't have that, right? And then at the deadline, we acquired a number of other players that were young with experience. You got Rob Dillingham, who's young, doesn't really have that much experience at 21, 22 years old. You got Jaden Ivey, who just turned 24 years old as well, who's a restricted free agent at the end of this year. And then you got Anthony Simons and Colin Sexton, 2 players that I wouldn't necessarily say are old, right, by any stretch of the imagination. Colin Sexton, I believe, is 27 years old, I apologize. He's just turned 27 in January. And then you have Anthony Simons, who's 26 years old as well, who, same age as like a player like Kobe White, basically, that he did replace. So you have those still young players with experience. The Bulls team now, I think it's now officially the 3rd youngest team in the league. We were the 2nd youngest team in the league, before all the trades, if you took away Nikola Vucevic. Now with everybody on this roster, we're the 3rd youngest team in this league, right? And so that leads me to what we're going to talk about today, is the other way to use cap space, restricted free agency. This is not a very deep free agent class. It's just not, right? Of course, you have guys like LeBron James, Norm Powell, Kristaps Porziņģis. Those are probably the guys that headline the free agency class so far. Those are guys that are all like old. I mean, LeBron is the oldest player in the league. Kristaps is old and injured. And Norman Powell, while, I wouldn't necessarily call him old in real life, he's 31 years old, having a career year, but that's not players that I would want to see this Bulls team really break out with, right? I wouldn't want to see them try to sign, those type of players. So that then leads to restricted free agency. And that is where the Bulls can get very creative, is in restricted free agency. That is where the market is most plentiful. You look at it, Jalen Duren, Tari Eason, Walker Kessler, Ben Mathurin, Peyton Watson, Mark Williams. These are all players that not only fit the Bulls timeline, but have fit that mold of young players with experience that Artūras Karnišovas has talked about before. Right now, let's eliminate some of the players that are going to be difficult to get in that. Walker Kessler is one that the Utah Jazz reportedly are willing to match an offer up to $25 million. So you technically have to offer him more than that to probably even get the Utah Jazz not to match it. They just added Jaren Jackson Jr. If they re-sign Walker Kessler, they can have one of the best frontline defenses in the entirety of the league and probably be the best rim protecting team in the league. Now, Walker Kessler is a player that we've talked a lot about over the course of this season and what it can mean for his offseason. His season did get shut down early. He only played a handful of games this year. But if the Jazz are willing to match up to $25 million, it means that the Bulls have to exceed that and probably get closer to the $30 million if they want the Jazz to even think about not matching that. Then you have the other center that I think would actually be perfect for this team. You talk about a pick and roll mate with Josh Giddey. That's Jalen Duren. But Jalen Duren is going to be all but completely unavailable. Like, yeah, technically you can put an offer sheet out on him, but the Detroit Pistons, who are the number one team in the East by a 5.5 game margin, no matter how their season finishes, even if they get eliminated in the first round of these playoffs, they are not going to be looking to make some huge, substantial changes to the roster. They're going to bring everybody back. Jalen Duren being one of the best young players on that team, I think matters as well. So even with him being a restricted free agent, it does not seem like that's going to be viable. Let's talk about Tari Eason, right? Tari Eason kind of fits the mold of the play style. Player that can get out in transition. He can finish around the rim. He's defense. We need a switchable forward there. He's a guy that I think could pair in a front court very well with Modest Buzelis. You then have Modest, Noah Essengate, who's also a defender and a switchable player, and Tari Eason. If you're able to sign that, your forward lineup at that point is probably locked in for 3 or 4 years if Noah Essengate does develop for that. Now, reportedly, the Houston Rockets do value Tari Eason pretty highly. He's 24 years old. He's shooting 46% from the field. He's averaging 1.8 stocks per game. But the thing with Houston Rockets is that their cap situation is not favorable. They're also a team that does not want to go into the luxury tax. They have big salaries committed to Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith as well. Then you look at Dorian Finney-Smith, who has a nice contract. Amen Thompson's getting ready to have an extension. They have to think about that one. And so it could be a situation in which maybe you are able to give a deal to Tari Eason, a very young player, and maybe the Houston Rockets, just because of their future situation, can't match that, right? So the Bulls are in a position where they do need to put themselves in an opportunity to put out a big offer sheet. Another player that kind of fits that mold is Tari Eason. I do a show every day, Monday through Friday, with Matt Moore, who covers the Denver Nuggets, and he's talked about the fact that with the Nuggets not wanting to pay the luxury tax, they're going to have to let some key role players go. And we've seen them do it before. They did it with Bruce Brown. They did it after winning a title. They are legit about not paying the luxury tax. So a player like Peyton Watson, who is having a breakout year for the Denver Nuggets, could legitimately be available just by the salary cap situation of that. And this is something I've talked about now for a few years, is that with the second tax apron being the thing now, restricted free agency has become, or can become, more of a weapon than ever before, because you can really test a team and see how much are they really willing to go to keep a player by going into the first tax apron, and damn sure if it's the second tax apron. And so now when you look at the Denver Nuggets, they have $186 million in their starting lineup for the 2026-27 season. And even though Watson himself has had an absolute breakout of a season, that's just a difficult field to maneuver in, right? So if the Bulls are truly willing to gamble in restricted free agency, there are a number of players in here that can very well help the Bulls. Now, I know there are going to be some Bulls fans like Peyton Watson, Tari Eason. These guys aren't stars. And I get what you're saying in that, right? And no, there are not star-level players. But when you look at building a team, when you pair that with what the Bulls can already do in the draft, with potentially having 2 first-round picks as well in the draft, that is something that you can build a solid young core, that you have redundancy, you have depth, you have all those type of things that you can build towards that. And that is why the Bulls could gamble in restricted free agency. Now, this all comes down to, do you trust AK to execute it? And that's where my fears come in with this, is that I don't trust AK to really execute shit. And so therefore, how can I trust it if I don't trust AK? What AK has done is that he's given himself the opportunity. As I said in the opening, opportunity only matters so much as how you use that flexibility and opportunity that you've created. AK can't continue to make stupid ass deals and trust us that he's going to use the opportunity that he's created. But this is what he's asked for. He said patience until the summer of 2026. What does that mean? Does that mean that the Bulls are looking to make another move to gamble and those type of things? We shall see. But restricted free agency, if the Bulls are going to make a splash this offseason, it comes through draft luck, lottery luck, and drafting the right players. And then I would say betting in restricted free agency or the trade market to absorb some salaries and then use some of those second-round picks that we got to just send second-round picks back. That way the other team doesn't have to take any salary back. That is probably the best bet here for the Chicago Bulls this offseason. We'll see. I'm not in any way saying that they're for sure to get any of those guys, but those are the guys to target. Jalen Duren, Tari Eason, Walker Kessler, Ben Mathurin, Peyton Watson, Mark Williams. Now, if it's Mark Williams, who I didn't talk a lot about, the Bulls still, in my opinion, need to draft the center of the future because I don't want to trust Mark Williams as my center of the future more than 1, 2, or maybe 3 years, but I want to be developing that next guy. Mark Williams has been, for the most part, healthy this season. I still have my concerns about the long-term part of his health. But hey, let me know what you guys think on that down below. The Bulls gamble on potential restricted free agency. Who are the restricted free agents you're looking at? Do you think that actually could work out for the Chicago Bulls as well? Let me know that down below. With that said, let's go ahead and get into these voicemails that we got today. This first voicemail we got, this one's from Vaughn.
What's going on, Hayes? This is Vaughn, man. I've become such a fan of Chicago Bulls Central. That's why I call a few times a week. I'm not Robert De Niro riding around in a dirty kidnapper van, so I'm not the fan, so don't worry about that. But anyway, man, here's a question I have. And I know there's going to be some content to fill as we approach All-Star break. I guess I should say mercifully approach All-Star break. Be quicker than I normally am, man, not run out of time. Colin Sexton. All this patting the floor, talking, and all this is great. He's definitely an NBA player, but did he win in Cleveland? Has he won in wherever he's been? I think Charlotte, Utah. So, I know Cleveland's taken off since they got Spider, so they're two different level of players. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's more of AK's flawed plan. Why do you obtain all these guards when getting a guy like him is going to cut into the evaluation time for Ivy and Simons? I mean, we don't even have Giddey and Trey back yet, so imagine the playing time then. And then Dillingham, I'd love to see what he has in terms of, possibly being a backup point along the lines of like a Speedy Claxton or something. But this dude is chopped into playing time because, like I said, Sexton plays hard, but it takes him a whole lot of shots to get 20 points, man. And shout out to Io, who takes 13 shots to get 20-some points. But whatever. I digress. Anyway, man, I'm just trying to understand the logic, when, I get the expiring for the expiring, and then you get picks back with the expiring, and then you get, people that you want to audition to play opposite Giddey, and it clearly seems like Simons is the best for that, but obviously Simons chooses where he's going to go. Why in the hell is Colin Sexton one of these players? He cuts into Ivy's time, he cuts into Simons' time, he cuts into Dillingham's time. I do not understand this. And then we get to play Billy Ball with a center that's 6'7", and, 3 players 6'3" and under. So, if I want to see that shit, I'll go to the Y. But anyway, man, love the show. Love the podcast. Keep doing your thing, brother. Peace.
I love that Vaughn, talks about, the winning player thing. And here's the thing. Vaughn says that a lot, but here's the thing. To me, much like people would have said that Ayo Dosunmu isn't people actually did say Ayo Dosunmu isn't a winning player. People were like, oh, he's just a role player. Look at what he's done now by going to a winning team. Now are people going to view him as a winning player? The whole concept of X player is not a winning one is one that I don't agree with because it's all about situation. Look at some players that have been on championship teams and actually Otto Porter Jr. actually played a real big role on a championship level team after looking here and in Washington like he was completely washed, done, and dead. So I can't hear that as far as what these X players can do on a winning team. Now, I think as far as why, players are playing like Simons is playing because he's better. And I don't think the Bulls right now are in a spot of just trying to evaluate. I think they're also looking for long-term fit because the fact of the matter is that if AK does make moves this offseason and try to make this team more of a winning team, then you have bird rights now on Anthony Simons, and you can keep him because Anthony Simons is somebody that is consistent in what he does. Now, I don't know if he's going to want to stay here. That's up to him, right? So it's up to AK to do that. But I do think, like, yeah, you're trying to evaluate these guys somewhat for sure, but you're trying to evaluate everything because the Bulls have so much flexibility this offseason. We'll see what they end up doing. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Jeremy.
All right, what's up, Hayes? It's your boy Jeremy down in Oklahoma. Going to touch base on a few things. You're talking about what's the rest of the year hold. We don't know with Billy. I mean, why the hell is, like you brought up, why is Pat getting more minutes than these other guys? I mean, Mattis should be out there. Hopefully when Giddey comes back, this might change a little bit because hopefully Billy wants to see, who meshes good with Giddey and Mattis, on the court. But it just makes no sense to me why Pat's getting more minutes than some of the new guys we got. If we want to see what they're capable of, hopefully push Ivy, get that leg feeling better so he gets more confidence on that leg. But yeah, I agree. Mattis needs to, this is Mattis's time to, be a little more aggressive. I know a lot of people are kind of, to me, they're rushing a little much. Mattis isn't going to become the leader overnight. To me, Giddey's our quarterback. Giddey has more experience. He's a little more vocal. He's starting to develop that leadership role to me. I mean, and I love Mattis, but to me, Giddey's our leader, at least for now, for the next couple of years, hopefully. Hopefully Mattis gets a little more aggressive. He shows glimpses of it, but hopefully with, Giddey, Mattis, Noah Essengay, that's what I'm excited to see. As far as, the Thunder pick or the Thunder guy we had, Usman Dang, I was excited when we got him. Everybody was making jokes. I'm in Oklahoma. So I saw Usman Dang play. And I was excited because I thought that would have been great with Mattis, Giddey, and Noah. And then we immediately did a Bulls move, and I'm trying to figure out where the hell Usman Dang went. Oh, there he is in Milwaukee. 17 points, like 3 games and all this, So, yeah, Usman Dang. Yeah, we missed on that one like we do. But, that was disappointing. But like I said, hopefully once Giddey comes back with and Trey, we get to see a little more or less Pat for one. But tell me what you think, man. See red. Peace out.
I think Josh Giddey is definitely the leader on this team as it stands right now. Now, make no mistake about it. Colin Sexton has been very Pat Bev-esque since he came here, but Josh Giddey hasn't been seen. But I think Josh Giddey is the guy as it stands right now. Of course, yeah, you hope Mattis can develop to that. Maybe you draft somebody who's going to develop to that in this draft, right? And we'll see. But I think when it comes down to this, like Mattis has a lot of game left to develop. He has a lot of his game left to develop, left to round out. As I've said many times, I don't really trust Billy Donovan to be the guy to do that. Billy, no mid-range shot. Donovan, I don't trust him to be the guy to do that in any meaningful way. We got to see how that's going to work out, but I have my qualms with that. But I think overall, like, yeah, you're looking at these guys and trying to see what they can turn into. And they're not nearly a finished product yet, and we'll just see how they develop. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Todd.
Hey, what's good, bro? It's Todd. Giving you a shout, man, after you challenged us to envision what we would love to see this team looking like this time next year. So just warning, you did it to yourself, man. I'm going full on 2K with this. Now I'm gonna actually try to be realistic with this. So here's what I got. All right. First off, let's talk about who we let walk. I'm letting Simons walk. He's a little too expensive. Love what he brings on the offense, but nothing more. We could have kept Kobe, but they kind of always reminded me of each other. He's might be a little bit more consistent, but whatever. Unfortunately, I'm letting Sexton walk. I love his energy, but again, older than we need, doesn't fit the timeline. Collins, great player, but can't really count on him. Just not always on the court. And Yabu, I just think he wants to get back to Europe, so I'm gonna let those walk. So here's what our team looks like: Giddey at the 1, Trey coming back at behind him, and then Dillingham. We let Trey and Dillingham fight it out, see who's the better backup. At the 2, I got Ivy, and this is where it comes in with my 2K-ness. We move up in the draft to number 6 after we get to the number 9 or 8 position, and we take Heaton Wagler from Illinois as our potential star turn. Don't know what the man brings, but he reminds me a lot of Shea. All right. So then we got Modest starting at the 3 with Isaac Okoro backing him up and Leonard Miller back at, being our bench guy. All right, next one. Next big one. We make a move in restricted free agency and we pick up Tari Eason. Yes, sir. And then we're going to go for another big one. Via the Portland pick at number 12, I'm taking Yaxo Lindeborg. Absolutely. 24 years old. Going to be great, I think. And then you got P. Will and Noah backing them up. Jalen starting at the 5. And then for our last 2K pull, I'm taking Ade Mara via a trade up into that 31st, maybe 30th spot. And then backing him up with Nick Richards. And our 2 ways are Yuki and Lachlan. What do you think about that? Crazy? Realistic? Anything in there realistic? Let me know, bro. Anyway, I appreciate the opportunity because this made me feel so much better than I have in the last week or so. So thanks for asking the question. I really enjoyed answering this one. So hopefully all good, man. We'll talk. See Red.
How you going to respond to a challenge I laid out and not get it right? Todd, you did not understand the assignment at all. I said, where does this team have to be at next season for you to feel like the trading Kobe, trading Io, the moves were a success? I didn't ask for a bunch of 2K roster moves. I didn't want to hear who people wanted to sign or things like that. I asked, where does this team have to be by this time next year? Meaning, do they have to be competing for a playoff spot? Do they have to be doing – that's what I asked, Todd. I got to throw some shit to you because you did not understand the assignment at all. My boy Todd heard something and ran with it. Todd's family, so I got to throw him a little joke there. But yeah, bro, you did not understand the assignment at all. This man gave a whole entire 2K set of roster moves and did not understand the assignment at all, bro. That you missed the whole entire assignment, the whole question, the whole basis of the question that I asked. You missed it. You missed it. Congrats. You blew it. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Xavier.
What's up, Hayes? My name is Diego Martinez. I live over here in Atlanta. Huge Bulls fan since 2000. Huge fan of what you do. Always putting out news for Bulls. I'm always watching your videos while I work. Even when I take a long drive, I'll put a video on. I actually just came off of one of your recent videos. I'm like, you know what? Let me call him. Let me talk about it. See if we're on the same page a little bit. What I think people, at least with this Bulls group we got, it's all over the place. We all know that. It's fucked up. We're in full tank mode, no doubt about it. I think players like Yabusele, they've been okay, but they're not part of this future, in my opinion. He's just serviceable for now, and he's going to rock out for now. What we got at the guard spot, we already know it's crazy, man. But what I do like is keeping Giddey. Of course, that's a no-brainer. I'm still not there with Rob, with Dillingham. He's showing some flashes, but, with the whole thing, old guard mix-up, I think what we do see next season, let me see, I want to kind of hear what you think. I think we do see Giddey at the 1 still. I think we're going to let go of Colin Sexton. I think we do find a way to keep Anthony. I think, I'm just like you, I'm a huge Anthony fan. I think keeping him on the team helps people like Giddey, helps, a couple other guys. He's a great scorer. I think Colin Sexton, he's going to pack his bags. We keep Rob and Trey. I'll be honest, Trey Jones is gone. I don't think he's a part of the future either. This is a real rebuild. We keep Jaden Ivey. We keep Josh Giddey. We keep Rob Dillingham. Those are our 4 guards right there. Boom, boom, boom. Keep Anthony Simon. He probably won't be here in a couple years, but, we keep him around. Let him, rock out with these guys, because at the end of the day, you never know. Nick Richards, he looked good for 2 games. Trash. I kick him in the street if it was me. We got to keep him around right now. We got no bigs. I love Jalen Smith. He probably won't be here too long. Zach Collins, like him, probably won't be here too long. I think this Bulls team in a year or 2 from now, only players that we're going to see on there is Josh Giddey, Matas. We're going to have Rob. We're going to have Jaden Ivey. I think those are the only guys that I could see. And fuck Patrick Williams. I'm tired of his ass, too. Get him up out of here. See what you think. I think those guys there between Josh Giddey, Matas, Rob, Jaden Ivey. Noah Senge. Can't forget about Noah. I don't know, we haven't talked about Noah. Hopefully, he turns out, go Bulls.
The Bulls have a nice young core that could develop, and I think that's potential on some things, right? You have Giddey, Modest, and Noah Essengay, and I do think Noah has to develop on this team for us to say that for sure. But theoretically, they all fit together. Their play style fits together. The way that Josh Giddey likes to get out and run, those pieces could all very well fit together. You got Noah, who you need to see. He can be that versatile defensive piece, but we got to see there. Jaden Ivey is a nice piece if he can get back to who he was prior to the injury. It's prior to the injury. If he can get back to that, and I don't think we see that this season, but next season, if the Bulls do, and I think they will re-sign him in restricted free agency, then that's another young piece that you have there. Right now you have 4. Then you have Trey Jones and Jalen Smith, 2 very nice veteran but still very young pieces, right? These guys aren't, 30 years old. These guys are still players that, while not on the exact same timeline as the players that I met before, you're not going to run into a roster where everybody's 23. You're always going to have some key veterans around, but those are guys that can really fit in multiple roles, multiple systems. And then if you add to that Rob Dillingham, if he ends up working out for you as well, that's another young piece then for you, right? So we're talking about a Bulls team that if things, and it's not going to work out for all these guys, but if it works out, you got Giddey, Modest, Noah, hopefully Jaden Ivey if he can get back to being what he was before the injury. You got Trey Jones and Jalen Smith. That's 7 players right there. Then you potentially have 2 picks in the top 20 in this draft. If you get those picks right? No matter where they are, if you get those picks right with the talent in that draft and they turn into legitimate role players to start, well, you want your first pick definitely be the starter. The pick that's 15 to 18, if you get at least a solid role player to start out of that one, now you're talking about having 9 players on your team that are all still fairly young, 27 and below if I'm not mistaken, with players in Modest, Noah, and then the 2 draft picks this year that aren't even begun to scratch the surface of exactly who they can be. Now you could be looking at a nice young core that you can develop. But then that puts the thing on this. A, does AK get the draft picks right? B, do we have the structure necessary to develop those guys in the way that they need to develop? And that's where the concern comes out about this team. And that's where we got to see and try to have some faith at. But that's my time for today, guys, man. At the end of the day, cap flexibility sounds great, but you have to execute with that flexibility or it means nothing at all. The Bulls are betting on themselves this summer, but the question is as well, do you trust Artūras Karnišovas to land the right pieces in free agency and the draft and trades? Drop your thoughts down below, leave in the comment section. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe, go Bulls, and always see red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.